In this video, I'm going to break down for you 10 things that men do that destroy their lives. As somebody that works with men one-on-one professionally, I run a men's group. These are things that I've seen that wreak havoc on their life, their relationship. So I guarantee that if you were to make a list in your life at where these things are showing up, and if you can slowly start to remove them one by one, that I guarantee that you'll be able to systematically improve your life. Number one is people pleasing. Nice guy syndrome is one of the biggest killers of relationships. It will damage you in the work environment or the business environment. What ends up happening is when you say yes to something or someone when internally it's a no, you end up creating resentments towards that person or about that thing that could have been prevented in the first place. One of the other things that starts to show up is when you're constantly trying to please others, when you're constantly trying to take on more than you can handle, you can end up burning yourself out or just getting overall really frustrated with all of the obligations and all of the things that you have to do. And one of the biggest things that men struggle with is this feeling of burden, yet we constantly say yes to, seeing that person for coffee. We say yes to doing that extra thing at work. We say yes to, going for that thing with our partner when deep down it might be a no, but we don't have the skills to set a boundary. We don't have the confidence to people please because deep down we're worried that we're going to let them down or that we're going to disappoint them. And this often starts in early childhood years when we don't want to either disappoint a parent, and it ends up bleeding into every aspect of our life. And it's a really hard thing to do, to start setting boundaries, to start saying no. So the first thing I'd recommend, if you're a chronic people pleaser, you have to start even just becoming aware of when you're people pleasing or when you have the urge to say yes to something that you don't want to do. So if somebody says, "Hey, do you want to hop on a Zoom call?" Notice, is it actually a yes or is it actually a no? And that's the first step, is starting to bring awareness to where are all the areas in your life that you are, chronically people pleasing or trying to be a nice guy, and where you end up shooting yourself in the foot. Number two is short-term gratification. When men lack discipline, it really wreaks havoc in every aspect of our life, whether it's food, technology like social media, Netflix, video games, sex. It doesn't really matter what it is, but when we choose short-term pleasure over playing the long game, we end up getting caught in cycles of bad behavior, for lack of a better word. And when we delay gratification, when we say, "Hey, I'm not going to have that donut now because I want to have a really, trimmed body in 3 months," right? When we can delay that gratification to the end, we prove to ourselves that we have the discipline to follow through on the things that we want to do, right? When we make the decision in the moment, "Hey, I'm not going to scroll social media. I'm going to go sit down and meditate," or "I'm going to go for a walk in nature," or we have the discipline to not listen to a podcast when we're doing something and just be for the sake of being. When we choose short-term gratification, we are letting the vice or the thing own us or control us, right? And in life, there's so many things that we can't control, but we can control engaging in short-term gratification. Because in the long term, doing those things now to give us a hit of dopamine, all they're doing is hurting us in the long run. Number three is not prioritizing our health. And when I define health, I'm talking about everything mental, physical, and emotional. The first thing is a lot of guys just don't take care of their sleep. And if you're not sleeping well, you're literally not setting up your life for success. Your levels of anxiety will be higher, your stress will be higher, your cognitive function will be lower. And overall, if you are not treating sleep like is the most important high performance tool that you have, then I would make sure that gets sorted out of anything else on this entire list. But you have to be sleeping, you have to be hydrating, you have to be putting good food in your body. You need to be in movement, whether that's working out, practicing yoga, going for a run, going for a hike, going for a bike ride. It doesn't matter. But you need to get strong. You need to challenge your body because it's going to reduce your stress, build yourself a body that actually works in the long term, and it's going to make you a better man overall in every single way. The stronger and fitter and more healthy that you become, the easier it's going to become to also not get sucked into short-term gratification because you've developed the discipline and the habits from the health perspective and that's going to carry over into every other aspect of your life. Number 4 is drinking alcohol. Now, the reason that I created an entire section just on alcohol is because I think it's really important that you stop drinking alcohol altogether. And I know this might be controversial for some of you that are listening, but I want to ask you a question. Does it add any value to your life? What does it actually add value to? Does it make you smarter? Does it make you sharper cognitively? Does it make you run faster? Does it improve your sleep? Does it improve your social skills? Does it improve your recovery? Is it making you better at work? Is it making you better at sex? No. The answer is alcohol is a toxin that enters our body and just slowly starts killing us from the inside out. And the reality is you just don't need it. If you want to be a strong man, if you want to be a powerful man, if you want to build a business and you want to tackle life and live at the highest level of what men are capable of doing, then you need to just stop drinking alcohol. And I know that's going to piss some of you guys off because you're like, oh, who's this guy? You just don't need it. Cold turkey, right? Studies show that once you get past 2 drinks a week anyways, it starts to have a really big impact on your health. So if you could stick to that 2 drink limit, I guess, or you could just cut it out of your system altogether. Anybody that I know, myself included, that's cut alcohol from our life, we're never going back. It just doesn't add any value to my life, and it's not going to add any value to your life either. So stop drinking altogether, cold turkey, no explanation needed. Number 5 is lacking emotional regulation. Guys aren't taught how to regulate our nervous systems. It's just not something that comes up in conversation in our youth. It's not something that's commonly talked about. But guys' inability to regulate their own emotions and their own nervous system, it's what causes wars, it causes fights, it causes divorce. But if a guy doesn't have a mastery over his own emotions, then those emotions will continue to dominate him in every aspect of his life. And I'm not just talking about anger. I'm talking about fear, exhaustion, frustration, heck, joy, right? If you're just constantly full of joy, if you have those people that they're just throwing emotions at you, even if they're positive, and you're like, hey man, can you contain that over there? Regardless, it doesn't matter what the emotion is. If you don't have the ability to recognize what state you're in and apply tools to calm your body down, to not allow that energy to leak out all over the place, it's gonna wreak havoc in your life. And especially in a relationship, having the ability to, when something pisses you off or something happens at work, to not just come out of your home office and just start blabbering to your entire household, because women don't want that. Your kids don't need to hear that shit. And you need to learn how to contain it. You need to learn how to work with it, how to calm yourself down, and how to hold your own emotions so that way you can be strong, you can be clear, but then you can also move forward in life without feeling like this constant tidal wave is constantly knocking you over. Number 6 is settling for an okay job or career. Now, I want to preface this with, I know that some guys are out there saying like, hey man, I've got a family, I've got to provide. And I do agree with that to a certain point, because guys can use that as an excuse that, hey, I'm making the money, I'm in this job that I hate, but I'm paying the bills for the family, and I have to do that. And I agree in the short term, but what I believe is that you should always be working towards figuring out what you need to do for work that will actually fulfill you. Now, one of the points later in the video, we're going to talk about purpose, but in this one specifically, you could totally be working Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 in a job that you dislike because you're paying the bills for your family. But it is on you to make sure that you're carving out an hour once or twice a month or once or twice a week to start actually figuring out like what job would light you up. Maybe it's starting a business. It doesn't really matter, but you can't just sit in the excuse of I'm providing for my family, therefore I'm going to spend the next 50 years of my life in a job that I hate because I'm providing. Meanwhile, there are tons and thousands and hundreds of thousands of men around the world that are providing for their families and building a business, or maybe that business is what they want to do, but they're doing both at the same time. They're working as hard as they can to make ends meet for their family, but they're also making sure that they're moving towards a career or a job that is actually fulfilling, something that they really want to do in life. Because one of the most powerful traits in the masculine body, in a man's body, is the ability to strive. It's in our DNA, right? Back in the day, back in the cave days, I'm into cave references right now. My wife's driving her crazy, but we used to like go out and hunt. That was like the goal. We were setting out and our job was to find food, to bring it home and feed our families. And like, that's in us. The like, I'm going to travel all night through dense forests, through under rocks, over mountains to like hunt whatever the heck we used to hunt back in the day. I don't know. I'm not a geologist or whatever the heck person studies that. Evolutionists, there you go. Anyways, the point is that we have this innate part of our human DNA to drive and provide and do something meaningful. And it's just a matter of accessing that and carving out time to do it. Number 7 is lacking brotherhood. People that are actually willing to challenge you, push you, and shape you into the best version of yourself. I've been a part of men's groups for years now. I run my own men's groups. I helped other people start men's groups. It is by far one of the most valuable things that men can do is get surrounded by like-minded men to connect with them, to build community, to call them on their bullshit, right? To just help them like lift them up when they're in the hole, like when they're in the darkness of their own mind. Guys need that connection because so many of us suffer in silence. We carry the weight of life on our own. And we really need men that can hold each other accountable and really like bring out the best of each other. So if you don't have a close community of men, then I recommend finding it. There are various online spaces that you can look to. Just type in online men's container, online men's group, find somebody on Instagram, or just hit me up on Instagram and I can see if I can throw you in the right direction. But the best case scenario would be finding an in-person men's group where you can actually meet guys that will care about you, that don't need anything from you. And it's one of the most powerful things you can do. Number 8 is avoiding responsibility. Ooh, and this really goes well into the world of addictions. But look, if there are things in your life that people are constantly bringing up to your attention and you just don't want anything to do with it, there is a chance that you're avoiding taking responsibility in your life and taking full ownership over every single action and behavior that you've done in your life. It's gotten to you exactly where you are today. So if you're not happy with where you are, you need to take full responsibility for how you've created your current circumstances. There's nobody else's fault. There's no government. There's no company, there's no circumstance, right? There's nothing that has happened that has caused you to be where you are. I mean, obviously there are some things that play into the equation, but ultimately we're coming at this from the perspective that it is your fault. It is the ruthless self-reflection. Like, this is the work that we need to do as men to figure out, how did I get myself here? What do I need to do to change? What is the vision of the future that I want? And take full ownership and responsibility to actually go chase that thing. Number 9 is purpose. And look, I know this word gets tossed around like a buzzword, especially in the men's workspace altogether. And people are like, oh, you got to like live your purpose or find your purpose. And I think people really overcomplicate what that word means. What purpose means is something that gets you going every day that is beyond yourself. It doesn't have to be running a not-for-profit. It doesn't have to be leading a company. It doesn't have to be anything outlandish. It can be as simple as, look, like my purpose is I want to fill the neighborhood with music, right? Or I want to be the type of person that supports for his family in ways that nobody else can, right? Maybe it is running a business. Maybe it is like I want to be the best dad. Maybe it's I want to foster dogs and like not tell anyone. It doesn't have to be this like external achievement that you're going to get recognition for. Maybe you want to be a steward of the community and you want to like be the person that keeps the community clean. You go out on your spare time and evenings and weekends and you pick up garbage. You fix fences in the neighborhood. It doesn't matter, right? People talk about purpose like it's this esoteric thing that's going to get downloaded from, the ether when you're running at 2 a.m. under the moonlight. It doesn't have to be that. It can be something really simple, something really close to home, something close to you. And it's just something that gets you excited outside of, yourself. It's really about putting an emphasis on service rather than doing something just for you, right? Saying, hey, I want to get jacked. Like, that's my purpose. I want to be muscular. That doesn't count. That's not serving anything that other than your own ego. Unless you're like, I want to get super strong so I can protect, which is, I think, a stretch. I think you can do better if that's your biggest purpose on life. Then I think you need to continue to work on that. In terms of how do we actually get this done, you need to create time to figure it out. So if you don't know what your purpose is, that's okay. But you need to, like I said earlier with the job thing, you need to carve time out. You need to set structure for yourself and carve time out of your busy life to find your purpose, or allow it to come to you. Maybe it is just a matter of you need to sit in meditation for an hour on a Saturday morning, or go for a walk by, in the park or by the water or the mountains or wherever you are, and just sit and think, like stare out and get bored, right? Allow yourself to wander. Allow yourself to start asking questions like, why am I here? What do I want to do? These are the things that will allow purpose to flow in through you. Number 10, and the final thing, is not taking money seriously. This is something that I, have personally battled with my entire life, but it's really around not taking full ownership over the importance of finances, especially if you have a family, if you've got a long-term partner, or you have kids, or maybe you've got a business. But you need to put an emphasis in understanding that like money really matters. We do live in a society that is expensive. Inflation is high. Things cost money. Houses cost a lot of money, especially if you're like somewhere like I am, which is in Canada. So you have to take it seriously. You can't just say, hey, you know what? I'm satisfied with the amount of money that I'm making. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't bring me happiness, this, that, and the other, which is true to a certain point. But so many guys live in money stress, but then they don't take the necessary actions or the steps to start increasing our earning potential, right? You might not be making the money that you want to make in the moment, but are you taking the necessary steps to make it, so that one day you are going to be in a position to take that money, reinvest, to pay off debt, or like whatever that may look like? You don't have to have it figured out today, but do you have a plan? Do you have a vision of like what you want things to look like in the future? So then you can start taking the necessary steps, which for many guys, it's just making more, increasing the earning potential, whether that be in their career, whether that be in a business. But the first step is increasing it. And the second step, managing it, and then continuing to just refine that process over time, because it really is something that you don't want to be 50 or 60 years old, not having any assets, and really just you don't want to look back on your life and be like, holy crap, like I didn't build anything. I didn't build anything substantial. Now I have to worry about money for the rest of my life. So I'm not saying you have to have it figured out this moment, but you do need to have enough of an awareness around it that you are working towards it. So that's it for today's video. If you made it here to the end and you like what you saw, feel free to hit like, subscribe to the channel, and I'd love to hear from you down below. Out of that list of 10 things, what resonates with you, what doesn't resonate with you. And if there's any videos that you want me to make, any topics you want me to talk about, I'd love for you to drop that down in the comments. Without further ado, I'll see you in the next video, and thank you for watching.